Don't speak ill of your significant other to anyone. Is this a red flag and something to be careful of? I would stay away. Now, you ladies didn't think I'd let you off the hook, did you? Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Henna. I am a physician associate trauma coach, and this is my YouTube channel. It is all about self-improvement, my self-improvement journey, and helping you along your self-improvement journey. Exciting news, everyone. Alhamdulillah, this channel hit over 1,000 subscribers, which is just awesome. And I'm honestly very, very thankful to you guys because a lot of effort went to the channel. I think I was close to 100 videos posted when I hit 1,000. And so thank you guys so much for feeling like whatever I have to say or whatever it was of enough value to you for you to stick around. And inshallah, this community is only going to grow stronger and larger and hopefully become a place where we can all prioritize our self-improvement for the sake of Allah. I guess I ended up accidentally doing a marriage series. We are going to jump right into it. What are red flags that you should look for in Muslim women? Or for the Muslim women watching this, what are red flags that you should take note of in yourself? Red flag number 1 is a woman who has an outrageously high mahr requirement. Now, I already know what you're thinking, or what a lot of the women are going to be thinking. Henna, it's a woman's right to have whatever mahr she wants to have. And you know what? You're right. You don't have to quote the fiqh ruling to someone who already knows it. It is absolutely 100% your right to decide what your mahr requirement is. If I wanted to set my mahr at $1 million, I have the absolute right to do so, as do you. But I'm not sure where we as a Muslim community got lost in thinking that just because something is halal and just because something is a right, it's a wise way of going about things. As an example, it is 100% in the right of a man to only provide the bare minimum for his household, i.e. shelter over their head, food on the table, clothing on their backs. Is that a wise thing to do in this day and age, to only say, well, this is the exact amount of calories that you need. I'm only going to be paying for groceries that meet that? No, it's not a wise thing to go about doing. It comes off as very cheap. It's halal it is a right of a man to decide if he wants to take on a second wife. Are we sitting here telling men that that's absolutely what they should do? No, because in many instances, it is not a wise decision. It can lead to the destruction of the first marriage that happened. Is this a red flag and something to be careful of? First and foremost, when it comes to this idea of mahr, somewhere along the line, we twisted this idea about what mahr is and equated it to the value of a woman. Women will come out and be like, well, my mahr is this high because I'm worth that much. Women are human beings, and this is not a business exchange. And also, what does that say about women who decide that they're going to keep their mahr low, or their mahr is not going to be a money amount, whether it be something else of value? Are we trying to say that those women are not worth much? Can you see how that can be problematic? Number 2 is very often, this is just my observation, and maybe part of why I feel the way that I do feel about this is the fact that I came from an upbringing where we didn't have much. We grew up lower income. And now on the other side of it, when I'm seeing women who are making these statements, it's very often women who have grown up upper middle class or upper class. When the commentary around mahr is, well, if he can't afford that, then he's not even worth it and he shouldn't even come looking. That to me is very out of touch with reality, because you grew up in privilege. There's nothing wrong with growing up in privilege. Alhamdulillah. In fact, it's a blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed this to be something that was easy on you when it's very difficult for a huge portion of the community, finances in general. But you need to be able to recognize that your worldview is influenced by that privilege. And thus, the way you categorize people and what you decide makes them worthy and unworthy is also influenced by that. And that worldview is very counter to Islam, a religion that teaches us that regardless of how much you have in the bank, the only thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at is the quality and the content of the heart and taqwa, or God consciousness. I'm not saying go after a broke brother who has $15 to his name and lower your mahr to 50 cents. But what I am saying is be very careful about the way you shape your understanding of mahr. Because listen, you can mark your mahr up to $60, $70, $80, $200,000 or more. And that's not including the wedding, the ring, the gold, whatever else, whatever other events are involved. But know that when you do that, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a quality man. That also doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a rich man, because I can't tell you how many people I've come across who have had to take out debt, take out loans to be able to pay for these weddings in the Mahr. What that does guarantee, though, is you are going to severely limit the pool of men who are going to be interested in you. A lot of really good men are going to look at that, and even if they did have the money to pay, they're going to look at you and be like, this seems like a woman who is much more infatuated with the idea of material wealth than she is regarding a relationship. Red flag number 2 goes right along with red flag number 1, and it is a woman who thinks she's a princess. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting the finer things in life. There's nothing wrong with being a girl who enjoys getting the flowers or having her husband hold the door open for her, who wants to be treated and wined and dined. Not wined, actually, because we don't do that stuff. In fact, a lot of women who do enjoy that stuff, it's just because they're in touch with their feminine side, and that is something beautiful. The problem becomes when that is a woman's mode of operation and it lends itself to arrogance. And you will know these kinds of women because of the way they behave towards other people, and especially when they don't get what they want. Are they able to accept when things don't go their way? Or do they throw a tantrum like a child? Are they women who, if they don't like something you say or disagree with you, instead of being able to respectfully communicate that, they roll their eyes? Are they women who constantly stress the importance of material items to them in your expression of love, and say things like, if he doesn't have a G-Wagon, or if he's not pulling up in a Mercedes, or if he can't get me a house with this many rooms by the first year, then I'm not talking to him, which actually shows a very high level of emotional immaturity, because marriage is so much more than what can be physically provided to you. And if you don't understand that, you're probably not ready to get married. If she's that kind of woman, I would stay away. I don't care how pretty she is. I don't care how hard you've fallen. You are going to regret it, because nothing you're ever going to do is going to be enough for someone who doesn't know how to be grateful and thankful for what they do have. You can have high standards, ladies. I think I have actually quite high standards. But at the same time, ask yourself, what are you placing value on with those standards? Are you being grateful to what you have received, and understanding when you don't always get what you want, or when things lapse? That's sometimes just part of the natural ebb and flow of a relationship. And our husbands offer us so much more than just things. Number 3 red flag is a woman who's hot and cold. And what do I mean with that? Sometimes she's interested, sometimes she's not. When she's interested, she's all up in your text messages and she's super into you. And when she's not, she's cold and ghosting. And do this too, by the way. It's a red flag in men as well. The reason why I would be very careful of women like this is because a woman who does this, it's a psychology game. And she will drag you through the mud until she feels comfortable with her decision. And that is not fair to you. Ladies, that is not fair. If you come to a point where you think that this is not going to move forward and you've prayed your istikhara and you're not, even if you're not sure, you need to be able to make a decision, because either you commit and you move forward, or you free up this man to go on along his way and start exploring the other options for him. If you are interested in a woman who's expressing this hot and cold, sometimes it's really important to put your foot down and be like, it's either a yes or a no. And if it's a no, I have absolutely no problem with that. I'm just going to go on my way and I wish you the best. Otherwise, you can get stuck in these situationships for years. I needed to sneeze. Whoop, 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 whoop. The next red flag is a woman who is Miss Independent. What do I mean by that? Now, I'm not talking about a woman who works or gets her own bread or does her own thing. Otherwise, technically, I'd be talking about myself, which wouldn't be a good look. What I mean is a woman who has a hyper-independent mindset. The thing about hyper-independence is it's a trauma response that a lot of women aren't aware of. Essentially, throughout your life, you found that you were not able to depend on other people to come through for you. And so because of that, what ends up happening is you feel like you can only depend on yourself. You're the only one who's reliable, and therefore your trust in others diminishes. This is a very common experience for a lot of women. And so I'm not saying in and of itself it's a red flag, because there are women who are working through that. And it is a natural process to unlearn hyper-independence. Actually, I found myself to be very hyper-independent, and I had to learn how to depend on my husband more and let him just do the things because he wants to do them, and even if I'm capable of doing them myself. That's a part of a relationship. But if you're coming across a woman who is making it very clear that she does not intend to change this part, and it's a very strong level of self-reliance that shows that she doesn't trust men, you're trying to be her husband, not her therapist. And someone who's not willing to work through their issues is just someone who has, again, lacks a level of emotional maturity that should be avoided. It puts a very big strain on a relationship, a marriage, when you're not able to work as a team because someone is in this mindset that they can do bad all by themselves, or that you guys are enemies instead of partners. The next red flag is a woman who carries the all men are trash mindset. Let me be frank about this. The problem with this mindset is several things. First of all, it doesn't negate the fact that there are several men who have completely betrayed the women in their lives, who have harmed the women in their lives, who have oppressed the women in their lives. But one extreme should not lead to another extreme, where we find women adopting this mindset that falsely labels an entire group of men when it is so counter to the Quran. The Quran tells us that the believing men and believing women are allies of one another. Is allyship, right? You cannot be an ally with someone who you have such little respect for and regard for. It's not possible. Allyship cannot exist or coexist with the mindset that all men are trash. Well, there are other prophets and Sahaba that were also men. The point being is that this is a very faulty narrative and it's extremely dangerous. And I'm going to be very frank. If you truly have adopted this mindset and you believe it, don't get married. Because that's an oppressive mindset to have. And very often we speak about the oppression that women can experience during marriage because of abusive husbands. But there exists the opposite as well. Women who, because of this mindset, cause harm to their husbands emotionally and verbally. You have come across a woman who has that mindset and hasn't done the work to be able to explore in a more nuanced way why she feels or thinks this way and do the healing work to address that. That's not a good partner. Could you imagine two people co-running a company and one of them saying that this person is trash and that company being successful? Your marriage is a lot more important than a company. We're better than that. We can address issues of oppression and call out any harm that's done towards women in a way that is more nuanced and complex than just disregarding an entire fabric of society that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us we actually need. We need one another. That kind of rhetoric is not welcome on my channel, because I want to build a community of Muslims who respect each other and honor one another, uplift one another, and hope and think well of one another. This is the concept of husn al-dhan, to think well of the other person. And this leads me to my final red flag, a woman who is a major gossiper. Now, you'll be able to come across this pretty quickly just by how excited a woman will get when something about another person is mentioned. Outside of the fact that gossiping is just a very dangerous sin that is extremely damaging to the heart, the reason this is a major red flag is, one, a woman who can't keep her mouth shut about certain things is not going to keep her mouth shut about her marriage too. This can be very destructive in a situation where, let's say you guys have a disagreement or it goes as far as becoming a fight, and she opens her mouth to other people about what happened, and God forbid actually slights you or talks smack about you in front of them. Now, after when things have resolved and you guys are okay, you two are good, but other people now know your business and have a certain opinion of you that you're never going to be able to rectify. A good rule of marriage in general is don't speak ill of your significant other to anyone. The only time you guys should have that is when you're bringing it up to someone who's extremely trusted, wise, and wants good for you too, and you're doing it in a way that's productive in that you're trying to resolve the issue. Someone who gossips doesn't understand that concept. That's one. Two is, do you want your children learning this habit? I certainly wouldn't. And the third part is, honestly, that when you are someone who gossips significantly, harm that you're doing to other people, God is going to turn around and hand right back to you. And you may find that destructive karma, it's not actually karma, but in your marriage. That can make your marriage very unstable. And with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, subscribe if you haven't, comment below if anything stood out to you or if you have anything to add. And by the way, if you don't know, I have a live show called Faithful Healing. I go live every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I coach Muslims through difficult struggles and challenges in their lives. It's a fun time. If you are subscribed to the channel, that's the best way to keep up with it. And you can also watch the replays of each episode on my channel. If you want to submit a question or scenario for the show to be coached on, you can go to the link in the description. And I will see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.